Hi everyone. Thanks for listening again to InCorp Group's Pro Business podcast series. I'm Eric here, your usual host. I'm the CBDO, Chief Business Development Officer of the group, and my co-host Alton as well. And today, because our focus team is on Vietnam, we are also very happy to have our colleague from our Vietnam office, LoAnn. So maybe Alton, you want to do a self-intro before LoAnn?
Sure. Thanks, Eric. So welcome back, everyone. All right, we're very excited to share with you another series of our podcasts. And as Eric mentioned, my name is Alton, and I work very closely with Eric in InCorp Group. I'm the Deputy Chief Operating Officer of InCorp Group. And with me, I have with us LoAnn, who is from the Vietnam office. LoAnn, give a self-introduction about yourself.
Sure. Hi, Eric and Alton. My name is LoAnn Vu. I am the head of consulting team in Vietnam, and we're based in Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. And thank you for having us here today.
Thank you, LoAnn. So for everybody's information again, InCorp Group is a Singapore headquartered group that specializes in providing corporate services as well as several business advisory works in 7 countries within South Asia and obviously Vietnam as well. So for more details of what we do and where we operate, please visit www.incorp.asia for more information. So today's episode will focus a lot on Vietnam, or rather solely on Vietnam. For companies who are looking to expand into the country, we will in today's session we will use a very much a Q&A style format to discuss on important points that includes general business outlook of the country, including key country stats, key industries that are trending in the country, key states and cities that will be suitable for different types of industries or for whichever type of industries in that sense. Whether there are any favorable government policies that for foreign companies who are looking to expand into the country. And lastly, we will close off with a brief company setup process and some of the options available in terms of legal entity form if a foreign company choose to enter Vietnam. So maybe Alton, I will let you ask the first question then to LoAnn.
Sure. LoAnn, I'm sure a lot of our listeners are very curious about how Vietnam is and, what kind of business outlook that country has, all right? Especially sometimes we do hear news about Vietnam. And we are also curious about the population demographics of Vietnam, especially for businesses who are looking to invest into Vietnam, but may not be too sure about what the country is all about. Can you just share with us more details?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that Vietnam right now is actually in a very interesting time. I think especially after or during COVID, the government has done a great job with handling the pandemic. So that really highlights Vietnam on the international stage and quite appealing for foreign investors. So during the pandemic in 2020, while there are many countries that have contracted, Vietnam's GDP has gone up by 2.9%, which is very positive for us. Yeah. Very, very interesting. And we're very happy to hear that. And even myself, I feel like I made a good decision to come back a few years ago. But yeah, in terms of the demographics and the population, we're about 98 million people in Vietnam, which is quite a big size, given considering not many other countries in the world have such a large market size and is developing at a fast rate. Our population is quite young as well. The average median age is 32.8 years old. So, around 65% of the country is under 35 years old. So, even before COVID or the pandemic, when our investors come to Vietnam, they really feel the liveliness and the drive given the young population. And even right now, as you go out in the streets, it feels like, within Vietnam, it feels like everything is up and running as sometimes, that the pandemic is not going on anymore. And the city is quite alive. So that's in terms of the demographics. Our middle class is growing quite fast. It's projected to grow. Currently, about a third of the population is in the middle class, and that's projected to grow to over that in the coming years. And continuously, the urban areas are growing. Right now, about 37% of the populations is in urban areas. And that's been rising 3 to 4% every year. So from the rural areas, people are moving to the urban areas.
I see. Thank you, LoAnn. So hearing a lot about the country's stats in terms of the population and age demographics, in your opinion, what are some of the key industries that are doing very well in the country?
Yeah, so the global S&P it predicts that in 2021 that Vietnam economy will continue to expand by 10.9% in real terms, and these expansions will be within the services industry, imports and exports, food and beverage, health and medical products, including mobile and telecommunications, e-commerce, industry, construction sectors as well. And all this expansion is really due to how Vietnam has been handling with the pandemic, as well as given the low production cost and the shifting operations from China are some of the key indicators why Vietnam is expanding. And in terms of the specific sectors, so as mentioned, food and beverage would be one very popular one, a trend that is increasing. So average annual consumption of food and beverage within Vietnam accounts for about 15% of the GDP, and this is projected to continue to grow. The e-commerce sector as well is growing very rapidly. It's the fastest growing sector since 2017, and that's projected to reach around 7.7 billion in 2021 as well. So the e-commerce sector, largely the segments within that is electronics and media. That's projected to grow. And within the industrial products sector, we have manufacturing up by 4.9%, electricity, gas, steam, and air conditioning supply up by 3.1%, water supply, sewage, and waste management up by 4.3%. And we have also processed seafood up by 5.9%, and also milk, powder milk up by 9%. So those are some very interesting industries and sectors. And we see discussions about the government opening up to e-wallets and e-payments. So historically, Vietnam has been a very cash-based transaction country, but the signs that the government wants to open up to e-wallets and e-payments is very appealing. And we see continued efforts in going digital on the government side. So all that is very encouraging for international and foreign investments into Vietnam.
Thank you, LoAnn. So it seems like fintech companies will probably do well if they expand into the country. Just now, earlier on, you touched on the topic of Chinese companies who are also, or rather, putting a lot of heavy investments into the country. In your opinion, is this a regular thing, or it has the activity has built up a lot ever since some of the political issues that's happening between U.S., China, or China and Hong Kong?
Yeah, so we do see continued interest from China or even from foreign investments that have companies based in China and looking to shift their operations to Vietnam, mostly due to political reasons. But we see the continued interest and growth from companies and industries from China shifting to Vietnam, and we see that as continuing, as always.
Sure, great, LoAnn. I think there's a lot of activity that you mentioned, and a lot of booming sectors that is actually being very encouraged in Vietnam, especially on the technology pickup and so on. And traditionally, we always heard of Vietnam, and a lot of people will come to mind will be the larger cities such as Hanoi or even Ho Chi Minh City. Are there any other cities that maybe foreign investors can look at? And how is the development of the first tier and the second tier cities or others for that matter?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi are definitely the top two economic hubs that foreign investors want to look at. So regarding Ho Chi Minh, it is the center of Vietnam, the financial center of Vietnam, headquarters to many international companies as well as banks. So Ho Chi Minh has continued to be that center for foreign investments. Hanoi serves as an economic, administrative, and social center for the country. And also, we see because it's closer to China that there is a lot of manufacturing developments on that side as well. An interesting city to look at as the third largest economic hub is Da Nang City. They're expanding on the logistics side. So they're expanding a lot of infrastructure and building on the access to the ports. in terms of logistics and also transportation. So Da Nang is becoming a big hub for transportation, for railway, as well as for the sea transportation and ports as well.
Okay, I always thought Da Nang is more famous for tourism, and I didn't know that there's a booming industries as well.
Yes, so Da Nang is is actually a very famous place for vacation homes as well. So it has a stretch of 33 kilometers of beach. So there's a lot of there still continues to be a lot of international hotels and resorts that are open there. On top of that, the ports and logistics side, as I mentioned, and what's very interesting about Da Nang that's different from Phu Quoc or Nha Trang, which are also big vacation locations, is that Da Nang has a residential side as well. So it has a nice vacation and hospitality industry, but as well it has a residential side. So there's a lot of interesting aspects of Da Nang to be the third economic hub in Vietnam.
I see. Thank you, LoAnn. Well, I think if we move on the sort of the same topic. So for foreign companies who are interested to invest into Vietnam, right? Are there any existing or upcoming government policies, incentives or tax exemptions for such foreign companies going in?
Yes. So I would name one that is very accessible to all companies. So any newly established company, for the first year, the government wants to support during the pandemic by exempting the business tax. So there's an annual business tax that for the first year, all new businesses does not have to pay. For that's continued to our 2021.
Wow, it's total exemption, is it?
Yeah. So like if your first year company, first year you're newly established, you do not have to pay the business tax for the first year.
Wow, fantastic.
And that's
Okay.
for all businesses. Yeah. And then for other incentives, so large scale for manufacturing investments or any other industry, including real estate, there's up to a 4 years tax holiday. That's also 9 years of 5% of income tax reduction, and up to 10% for 15-year as well. Other sectors including high tech and social importance, so anything in IT, in biotech, software production. So that's within high tech. And within social importance, you have education, vocational training, environmental, healthcare, sports and culture. You also receive incentives from the government for the taxes as well. Another incentive the government also introduce or really encourage is any companies that's based or any productions or manufacturing based in disadvantaged areas, you will receive an additional 50% on the CIT reductions as well. So disadvantaged and extremely disadvantaged areas, as the government wants to encourage development on that side, there are incentives for those areas as well.
Thank you, LoAnn. So maybe just for everyone's clarity, in terms of what do you mean by disadvantaged areas or extremely disadvantaged areas?
Mm-hmm. So Vietnam geographically is sectioned out or broken down by different four economic zones. So the big cities would be considered in the zone 1. The main cities, so Ho Chi Minh, Hanoi, Da Nang, within the city center will be in zone 1, and then expanding out you'll have zone 2. Zone 2 would include Da Nang city as well, Hai Phong as another big city, and then disadvantaged and extremely disadvantaged, you're looking at zone 4. Zone 3 and zone 4. So as you move further out from the city, those are considered disadvantaged areas, and the government wants to, to encourage those developments outside of the city. As you know, as Vietnam, the population density is quite high. So if you have developments outside of the main city center, then there's more incentives to grow out there.
I see. Okay, thank you for that, LoAnn.
Thanks, LoAnn. I think that is very interesting, and I'm sure a lot of listeners here are now very excited to, for example, find out more, and then looking at some of the alternatives, or looking at even to invest in Vietnam directly. So, can you just share with us, how can one or a foreign investor set up their business in Vietnam? Okay, what are the different business structure that's available, and maybe share with us very briefly about how we can go about setting these business structures up.
Okay. So there's many different ways to enter into Vietnam in terms of legal structures, and it all depends on what is your budget and what's your timeline, and what's your purpose. So for the most common legal structure for a foreign direct invested company is the LLC, the limited liability company. And then in terms of timeline, if you're looking to enter into Vietnam as soon as possible, then we have existing companies that are already established with their licenses already obtained. And then you can just acquire those entities. So those are some different strategies. The most common one, as I mentioned, is the LLC for the foreign investor is the most common one.
Thank you, LoAnn. And commonly, how long does it take for a foreign company or foreign investor to set up a brand new LLC structure in the country?
Yeah, so the most common legal structure, the LLC, it takes about 2 months, roughly about 2 months. That would be from the initial of submitting your documents to setting up the company and also opening up your corporate bank accounts as well. And then completing the process with the post licensing, so paying the taxes or getting your bank's your company chop mark, your company stamp, and so on and so forth. So that takes roughly about 2 months.
Okay. Thank you, LoAnn. So I guess for our listeners here today, we have shared quite a bit of information or insights from LoAnn, who heads up our consultancy team in Vietnam. So for any questions that you might have, please contact us on www.incorp.asia, or you can directly email myself, Alton, or LoAnn, and our contacts can be found on our website as well. So thanks everyone again, and to the next episode. Hopefully we'll meet you again.
Thank you all.